The following program may contain coarse language, violence, nudity, mature subject matter, or scenes which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Now, if you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And we're coming to you around the world tonight on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, and on Channel 32 now on Simul TV. My guest this hour is a good friend of mine. Not only is he a good friend of mine, but he's also the host of Paranormal Stakeout here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. And I'm talking about our good friend, Larry Lawson. And last week, Larry had a guest on for the second time. And I had actually had this guest on a couple of times on my show here on the X-Zone. His name is Ronny Dawson. And Ronny is, how would I best explain Ronny? This is a tough one. I'm going to bring my good friend here and former police officer, Larry Lawson, in to help me out here. Hey, Larry, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Rob. Thanks for having me on the show. Good seeing you.
It's good seeing you too, my friend. How would you describe Larry Lawson? Larry Lawson. Whoa, Larry Dawson. I mean, and then I'll tell you how I would describe him. No, you've had him on your show
Larry
twice.
Dawson or Ronny Dawson?
Oh, geez, did I say Larry Dawson? I'm sorry. See how you influence me, old friend. All right, let's try this again. How would you classify or describe Ronny Dawson?
He has quite the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
He tells a story that kind of stretches the imagination to the point where you have trouble believing it. Yeah. I guess that's the kindest way to put it. Not sure why, and I guess that's the question you want to ask sometimes when you have guests: is why?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of the story?
Now, you had him on twice.
Yes.
And I know the first time you didn't get exactly where you wanted to get with him because you and I had talked about him, and I know you listened to the reruns of my show. Mm-hmm. The fact that he claims to have had sex with multiple extraterrestrials, the fact that he claimed that he had a home invasion by 18-inch aliens, I always wanted to ask him, were these the same aliens that you had sex with, like 18 inches? And if you did you tear them limb to limb?
Well, I think he answered that, and there were two different sets of aliens, actually. Here's the issue. Going back to that original show. Yeah, we didn't get where I wanted to go because he actually has quite a bit of information out there, and he does enjoy talking about it. He is very animated, and he doesn't tell a story a lot different than some of the others that we've heard.
Exactly.
But then it starts to get a little bizarre. And I want to couch all of this, Rob.
Okay.
I don't know where his head's at. So let's put that out right.
Okay.
Now. I don't know where his head's at.
Let me say this, that to our listeners, that his story is very questionable.
It is, and it's simply because of my police background, certainly yours also. There are certain things that we would expect a rational person, even under stress, to do, and that didn't occur. And when I did question him on some of that, he couldn't. Like, why didn't you call the police after your home was torn up?
Yeah,
and he really couldn't answer that, except to say, "Well, nobody would believe me." Well, then why are you actually telling the story all over the internet if nobody believes you?
Why didn't you take pictures?
Why didn't you take pictures was another question. And we did not get to where the whole story the first time. Mm-hmm. And that's why I had him back on the second. Now, when I say what's in his head, what's his goal? What is his reason for telling the story? Some of the stuff, okay, sounds a little weird, but I want to have an open mind. I firmly believe that having an open mind and allow folks to tell their story. I'm not going to judge. But then we're getting into stuff that's really it pales with the truth, frankly. and a lot of it has to do with his face-to-face confrontation with aliens. I mean, I flat out asked him, he talked about having sex with this blue alien. And I got to mention this. I did go back over my notes. First time he was with me, he talked about having sex with the blue alien that looked like the cat.
Right.
Second time he said, the blue alien, it wasn't the blue alien. The other one looked like the cat, but he still was with the blue alien.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, you catch little things like that. But why did he do it? Is it because he wants to be famous? Is it because he really believes it happens? And that's one thing, Rob, I want to be careful of. There are folks out there that truly believe this happened.
Sure.
Doesn't mean it did. Okay.
We weren't there.
We weren't there, but it doesn't mean it happened either. But we don't always know what their purpose is. So that's why I say I want to couch how I phrase this. Is he just a flat out liar that wants to have his name in the paper? I would think he'd pick a better story, personally.
But why would he? Because his story is different. You see, that's what makes his story different.
Absolutely.
And plus, don't forget that when he's telling his story, it parallels so many others until you get to the home invasion with the 18-inch extraterrestrials. Then it also differs when he starts talking about the blue cat lady. And by the way, I loved that one line you used during your show about it being doggy style.
He said it. I just questioned him. He said they did it doggy style, and I asked if he did it doggy style with the cat lady. It kind of just came out. I apologize to my audience for that. But
you don't need to. I would have asked him if it was perfect.
Well, far be it for me to. Sorry, it just was. And then I asked him if he had told his wife about it. And he said, yeah. And I'm like, dude, there were just some things there that didn't make sense. And you're right about this. That is one of those catches that people will want to listen to him more. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to provide any actual evidence with it. Now, once again, we got to keep an open mind. Rob, we don't know that it didn't happen. We are surmising it didn't happen. We did not know that it didn't happen. And I want to make that clear. And we don't know that if it actually did happen or if it just happened in his head or he's just trying to be a sensationalist. And I think that's a problem with a lot of folks that get on the air and like to tell their stories. Are they really wanting to help and solve the question, or are they just wanting to be the star for a minute?
Well, you know what, Larry, over the years doing this show, one of the little things that I look for that tend to make the story that I'm going to hear more credible than not is when a guest will say, "You're not going to believe this, but." To me, that means, okay, they are not willing to come forward and tell their story unless they use that little disclaimer. You're not going to believe this, but Ronny didn't do that. He just comes out bang with his story. It's like a scripted part of a show that you see on Netflix, for goodness sake.
Yeah, and maybe that's where it was heading. I don't know. It just he could have solved so many questions by just doing some simple things, calling the cops. There was an incident that just happened in Las Vegas that I'm not sure what happened, but there's a light in Las Vegas. People called the police, and these folks actually did something right away. And I don't know the veracity of it. Of the story, but they at least called the police, and that's the sort of thing that I would have expected. And he did tell part of the story where his friend had a video camera and was supposed to tape it and did not.
Right.
I get that. I actually get that. People freeze and they don't think about what they had been planning to do when they freeze. So I actually could get that. All right, that's within the realm of possibility. But then all the things that happened in his house, being frozen in bed, lots of stories like that.
Exactly.
But then he tears up the house, and he's wanting to go hunt the aliens, but he's not willing to call the cops. And here's where I had the problem. But he's willing to get on, and he's been on many shows. He's been a speaker at conferences, and he's willing to tell the story there. But when you can actually put it all together, he didn't. So that's what concerned me the most. You know me, I believe there are things out there that we cannot explain. I do. But I'm not sure what they are yet. And that's what I endeavor to find out, to find those answers. But there's got to be some common sense involved too. And I didn't feel it there. And that's another reason why I wanted to have him back on the show. I wanted to talk with him a little bit more about it. And then when he changed the colors and the, I won't say gender, but species of the aliens, that concerned me. That concerned me. And then changing his story a little bit. Unfortunately, that's what I did for a living: listen to stories and listen to how folks change them. So that did concern me. But once again, what was the motive? I did not believe the story, and I even told him at the end. I said, "Look, I'm trying to be respectful, but this one's hard for me to swallow."
It's tempting, but I'm not going to say it.
And I want to be respectful. I do not. I want to be respectful.
Yes,
but,
you are.
You've got to give me something to work with, and tell me why. Okay, the guy froze, didn't take the video. I get that. That happens in real life. It happens when people are having a crime committed in front of them.
Sure,
but there's too much. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I agree with you 100%. But from what I understood, he knew when these UFOs were going to be coming. He knew where to go to see these UFOs and have contact. His story, like I said, to a certain point, sounded just like every other UFO story that you hear. And then when it goes to I've never heard of an alien house invasion before with 18-inch aliens. I've never heard that in 32 years. Never heard that. Then with the different species of the extraterrestrials that he, had made love to, I've heard that one or two times. But the question that you asked that he couldn't answer was, why him? Why was he chosen to be the emissary between, the aliens and Earth? Why would the aliens pick a truck driver to be their emissary?
Well, in fairness,
all right,
they may not know exactly who they are connecting with. But if that's the case, why would they pick just one person? Why wouldn't they pick several people and maybe from that choose who they want to be their emissary?
Right.
I don't know. Why him? And especially when he acted so aggressively towards them. He talked about shining a laser
at them. Yeah.
I mean, and then he's upset because the airline pilots got on him about doing that. Well, you just can't do.
Okay. Now you see that was an interesting point. If it was the airline pilots who got onto him about that, he wasn't shining it at UFOs at all. He was shining them at aircraft.
Well, I think he was talking about the using of it in general, but he may very well be.
Yeah.
But let's look at this other issue too. He talked about a city-sized UFO that came and actually started doing maneuvers in front of him. Such maneuvers that he could see there was a city on top of it.
Do you know where he got that from? Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because that's exactly what the UFO did at the end of the runway.
Oh, see, I don't.
On the landing on the when the
I've forgotten about that.
The major UFO comes over Devil's Peak,
right?
It goes to the end of the runway, and then it does a maneuver where it totally flips.
I'd forgotten all about that. You're right.
So did I until just now.
I was actually thinking about another individual I've interviewed before, and that person will go nameless, but they talked about a large, miles-long UFO that traveled over where they were at, and yet nobody else saw it.
Wasn't that a football the size of a football field or something like that?
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah.
And nobody saw it. Now, okay, that's why I asked him the question: how big is the town?
Yeah.
The town escapes me. How big's the town?
Yeah.
You know, could anybody else have seen this? He says that radar didn't, or the Air Force or the airport, the military, I can't remember which, wouldn't confirm or deny they saw it. They just said it was, there was something we can't tell you about. I can't remember exactly how I put it, but it was very, very strange. Because things that big can't be hidden. Heck, we're constantly, look what happened in Las Vegas. A light comes down from the sky and tons of people saw it.
Well, look what happened during the Phoenix lights. How many thousands of people saw it and called, the authorities, the local news media, and something the size of the craft that Ronny was talking about. Once again, I agree with you. Why wasn't there any other report made to the authorities or to law enforcement or to the media? And why would anybody? I know this for a fact myself. If you call up the military and ask them if something was on their radar, they're not going to tell you.
No,
because they don't know who the hell you are.
They don't know, and they may be doing some testing.
Exactly.
I mean, absolutely, you don't know who. But the fact that nobody, I mean, once again, I'm hitting Las Vegas because that just happened.
Yeah,
they got reports in their dispatch. People were calling it in. We had a town here on the west coast of Florida, in the what we call the Bend, up by the Panhandle.
Yeah, right.
Where I can't remember the name of the town. Not Ocean Breeze. I can't remember it now, but
Pensacola.
It wasn't in Pensacola, but it was in that area.
Okay.
And tons of people saw it. So yes, you can argue there's some sort of cloaking device, and I think that's what he was trying to say. But then, how did he see it? Did they just unveil themselves just for him? Now, there was another issue that came up too.
Hey, Larry, we've got to take a break, my friend.
Sure.
No problem. First of all, thanks for being here on X-Zone Nation. If you'd like to hear this interview, it's available at www.paranormalstakeout.org. Both of the interviews are available on that website. And if you'd like to watch the TV version, it too is available on Larry's website. Another website to check out for Larry and his crew is paranormalfbi.com. This is the X-Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. Larry Lawson is my guest. We're talking about Ronny Dawson. Oh my gosh, talk about similarities. We'll return. Don't go away. Larry Lawson is my special guest this hour. His websites are paranormalstakeout.org. And if you'd like to visit Larry's other website, paranormalfbi.com. And Larry, there's another website for Indian River, if I'm not mistaken.
IndianRiverHauntings.com. That both those sites come to the same spot, and that'll tell you a little bit about what my team does to investigate things all things paranormal. And Indian River Hauntings is my historical events that I do.
We were talking about Ronny Dawson's interview on your show last week, and you were about to say something, but we had to go to a break. So if you can continue, I'd appreciate that, friend. And I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Oh no, I should know better because I on your network doing the same thing, so I get it. Once again, whenever I try to talk to folks, and like I said, I want to be respectful. That's just how I like to. That's how I like to be. And like I said, I don't know that Ronny doesn't believe this. I'm not even saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't believe the story. Yeah. And I get to that point by asking the questions the same way I did when I was on the job. And I asked him, he was, I saw one of his videos that he did where he was apparently doing a presentation of some type, and you could tell it was a PowerPoint, and he was going through and he kept saying, we did this and we checked this out and we vetted that. And I asked him, who's we? I mean, was it a scientific organization that you went through it with? Was it something like MUFON? I don't know. And he said, well, it was the same guy that his friend who'd forgot to videotape it that first night. He has to be careful because when you present it, we did this and we did that, you're giving the impression of it being another organization. Yeah. And when he told me that, I became a little bit concerned also. Once again, does he believe this? I don't know. I did not. I don't mind saying that.
Did you, in the police force in Florida where you were working, did you ever use the PSA psychological stress evaluator as a lie detector test?
No, no. We normally can't use that because they're not accepted in court.
Right.
We have used polygraph,
Mhm.
but you have to go through a process.
Sure.
But did not use that test that you're talking about. Mostly we were just straight polygraph or voice stress analyzer.
Well, that's it. What are the voice stress?
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, maybe we should get him on the show if he agrees to take a PSEs.
I would be shocked if he did. Now, if he did, that would
Mhm.
tell me something right up front that he truly believes it happened.
Right.
Okay. And then we have another issue, and I'm going to bet you right here, Rob,
Okay.
he won't do it.
Are you betting me another $50?
Yeah. I'll bet you 50 on this one.
Oh, on that one. Okay.
No, yeah, not that one. Yeah, I'm going to bet he's not going to do it, and the reason being is I think the guy is smart enough that he's not delusional. I think there's another motive here, and it may be just to progress or to put out this story to get his 15 minutes.
Plus, he's got a book for sale. Don't forget.
Yes, he does, and you know what? More power to him if people want to read it. I am not going to judge the man. But I have the right, as he has the right to put forth a story.
Mm-hmm.
I have the right to choose not to believe it, and I'm choosing not to believe it based upon my evaluation of what he said.
But isn't it our job as journalists to either confirm or expose him?
Expose him if he's lying. Yes. Expose him if he has other issues that would cause him to say it.
Yeah.
Then I have some sympathy.
Now, I have had many people on the show over the years who have claimed to be alien abductees. Mm-hmm. And I would say there are those that I believe, that they believe, mm-hmm. without having any ulterior motive behind their claim. They truly believe beyond the shadow of a doubt that this has happened. And based on my experience doing this show and having been on the police force, like you, I can't give him 1 ounce of credibility.
No, because things change. How you're right. For all the things that we've just talked about, I would agree with you.
Yeah. And I think it's people like this who are, who do more damage than good, because people who have had the experience listen to this and they say, "Oh, shoot, here we go again. I'm not going to tell anybody my story because now nobody's going to believe me." And it's shows like yours, Larry, that give these people the opportunity of coming on and telling their story because of the way that you conduct your show, the way that you conduct your questioning. So, hats off to you for having this video.
Well, I think everybody has the right to tell their story. Okay.
Right.
And if they are being untruthful, they're going to hang themselves. And I think that was the case here. And I think that most people that would listen to it would see where I was coming from. I don't need to expose him. He did it himself.
In fact, what we're going to be doing tomorrow is Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be doing this Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We are going to be replaying your 2 interviews with Ronny Dawson on our 50 channels.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be putting a poll up on XCTV and XZBN. Do you believe him or you don't?
Well, and you understand there's people out there that do believe him, that do believe where he's coming from. Now, here's the question I would ask him: have they heard his whole story, or have they only heard bits and pieces? Because if they're going to believe them, I would ask that they hear his total story, listen to all the things that he's put out there. That's just my opinion.
If they do that, they'll never.
That's true.
They'll run out of time, for goodness sake.
Yeah, that's true.
But let's put it to the people.
Okay.
People's choice. You see, your show you're a nice guy. That's who Larry Lawson is. Not only are you my friend, you're a nice guy.
And you got my name right that time too.
Shut up. Where on my show, I'm not a nice guy. You know, my tagline is searching for answers, demanding the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, there are those people, maybe 32 years, nothing's changed. Whether it's Bigfoot, whether it's UFOs, whether it's whatever, nothing has changed in 32 years. So I come with it at it from a different angle. Like
you do.
I don't do investigations on the paranormal like you do. And in fact, you're turning me into a believer when it comes to ghosts and hauntings and things that go bump in the night because of your credibility. You know,
thank you.
The fact that you do what you've done and you continue to do it in a very professional manner gives you and the results that you and your teams get credibility. You're willing to share evidence. You're willing to share data because that's who you are. And yet I've had many people on the show, Larry, that they start talking. It's like, goodbye, boom.
Well, I think a big part of that is that while we have all the members of my team have their personal opinions as to what this is, we all recognize the fact that nobody truly knows what it is.
Right.
Nobody really knows why this is happening. So that therefore we are in search of the truth.
Yeah.
Whatever that truth is. We just don't know quite what it is yet. And I guess that's what helps guide us.
Yeah. I also think that your experience as a seasoned law enforcement officer is a big part of what guides your teams.
I think so. And I've got other first responder professionals on the team, another retired cop, retired firefighter. I've had other cops on the team before.
Yeah.
So, you know, it does, we do tend to look at it from a different angle maybe than some other folks do.
You know, and I've been sitting here trying to remember the name of that person that you were talking about with the football field UFO, Andrea Perron. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
did I say her name?
Well, once again,
yeah.
I was using that as an example of here's a large object in the sky, but nobody sees it.
Well, I'm sorry. Daryl Sims, who claims to have been a former CIA agent, who worked with Dr. Roger Lear on the extrication of alien implants, said that there is a 300-mile wide, 100-mile high UFO circling the Earth. And, you know, so I guess a mile wide or, you know, isn't that bad. But once again, these claims are being made. And because he claims he was with the CIA, and by the way, the CIA have no knowledge of who the hell he is, he can get away with it. No one's going to question his statements because of who he claims he is.
Well, I'm going to go back to something you just said a minute ago.
Okay.
You in talking about my group and the fact that we're willing to share data and information to other teams so that we can all put it together to find out what the big picture is.
Yeah.
This is an example of that not happening. If that is actually out there, I'm sure I don't know who this gentleman is. I'm sure he's not the only one that knows about it.
Oh, yes, he is. He no one else has ever come on their show, Larry, in 32 years and talked about it except him.
Okay, well, but here's my point.
Sorry.
If he was to share this information and it was able to be corroborated through sharing it with other professionals in the field, we'll use that term.
Okay.
Then they can cooperate together, and then you don't just have him, but you have several legitimate organizations that say, "Yep, we found it too." But if he's not sharing information, and then you got to ask the question why he's not sharing the information, you can't prove anything, and that's a mistake a lot of people make. They don't spend the time to nurture relationships and share this information because that's the only way we're going to find the answers to this.
You know, one of the questions that I asked when I was interviewing him was, are there any astronomers or junior astronomers who are able to, you know, to collaborate your claims? Have there been any whistleblowers who were able to, you know, and the list went on and it was always no. Well, how did you get this information? I can't tell you. It's classified. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of changing now, though, isn't it? Now,
It sure is.
I don't know where you're at on this.
Okay.
I am not the seasoned UFO guy. My side of the fence tends to be more on the spiritual ghost side. But now we're getting all these whistleblowers coming out all over the place, providing information. And
are they providing disinformation?
Okay, yeah, could be. But here's once again the point: people are now talking about it. People are now sharing information. So has this information come out from any of these other whistleblowers?
What information are they sharing? Hearsay. It's all hearsay. There's no evidence to substantiate any of the claims that David Grush is making. None.
Oh, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. What I'm getting at is other people are now talking about it.
Well, of course.
So when are the stories going to start becoming similar?
I get you. But here's my question. With all the computer hacking that is going on, okay, if there was information on UFOs held within a computer bank somewhere in the United States, don't you think that China or Russia would not be trying to access this information? Because if they could do that, if they could prove to the American people that their government has been lying to them bold-facedly since 1947, that would be a coup for them.
It would, and I can't answer that question. I mean, I think, if I had a balloon, I could probably, float it around and find some information, though. Never mind.
I got it. We got to go for our final break. Stand by, old friend. I could go so many ways with that balloon story, but that's for another show and another day. Larry Lawson is my very special guest. And as you know, members of the X Zone Nation, I don't give many people a vote of credibility, but I know Larry personally. I've seen him work, and I know his team. Credibility, integrity, and honesty is what they're all about. Visit them at FloridaParanormalFBI.com. And, of course, his show is paranormalstakeout.org. We'll be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, and my very special guest, the one and only Larry Lawson. We'll be back. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. Larry Lawson is my very special guest, www.paranormalfbi.com, as well as his radio TV show website, which is paranormalstakeout.org. As always, my good friend, thanks very much for being with us. And thank you for the great work that you do. We've got about 10 minutes left, according to my producer, who's sitting on the other side of the glass, giving you a thumbs up because he loves where you're coming from and he loves your show. We've talked about UFOs, and I think we made an excellent case. And I would imagine that, as far as I'm concerned, I want to believe, Larry. I really want to believe, but I want to see the proof. I think we
all do. Yeah. I think we all do.
Now, my question is, how in the name of heavens can the claims being made by David Grush be legitimate? Because my question is, didn't he not take an oath of secrecy as a member of the military and intelligence officer, that no matter what happens because of his clearance, mum's the word? And when a whistleblower does this, I have to look at the reasoning why they do it. Is it a matter of national security? Is somebody going to die if they don't blow this whistle? Even then, you take an oath. That's your bond. You as a police officer, I know for a fact, we were privy to information, information that we took an oath not to share. Cases that we were working on were classified in the police manner. Information that was around the computers was kept within us. I think that ufologists at times do more harm and cause problems with national security themselves by pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, because there's things we need to know and there's things we don't need to know. I, for one, sleep very comfortably at night, knowing that there are men and women around the world who at a moment's notice will give their life to defend my freedom and democracy. And I
Absolutely.
believe, Larry, that a lot of times these UFO investigators, researchers, conspiracy theorists are doing more harm than good. And I don't think they understand it. I don't think they're capable of understanding the danger that they themselves cause to freedom and national security.
I cannot disagree with you. But like you, like we all did in law enforcement, many times when we investigate crimes or why people do what they do, we look at their motives.
Yes.
Motives can come from a couple of different places. First is greed and the desire to be, in this case, maybe the desire to be famous. Could that be part of it? Could some of these people, and I fully admit to you that you have talked to many more folks in the UFO field than I have. But do they feel in some way that what's happening is endangering their country and they feel they have to do something? Could that be their motive?
Another January the 6th?
I'm not necessarily even saying that motive is correct, but everybody thinks differently. And sometimes folks process this stuff differently. I actually agree with what you do. You swear an oath, you stand by that oath. Unless you're being told to do something illegal, immoral, or unethical, you stand by your duty. Heck, there were laws that I had to enforce that I didn't agree with. But they were the law.
That's right.
They were the law. So you enforce it. So I get exactly where you're coming from. The question I have to go back is to the why. And could it be that most of them just want their 15 minutes? Maybe they got mad at a boss and they're gonna make them pay for it. Who knows what those motives are? But what we want to try and find are the folks that have the pure motive. Yes. Is there a reason for them doing this? Are they truly in their hearts trying to save someone? Well, then articulate and tell us why. Don't come to us with a bunch of stuff and say, well, I can't tell you where it came from. Well, dude, you're on my show telling me this happened. Tell me how you know for sure. So
I sometimes wonder, I don't wonder, I know this for a fact, that the media spins a lot of the false and misinformation that is out there. And they will do so in order to get ratings.
If they will bring leads.
That's right. That's right. And it embarrasses me a lot of the time because I've always tried to be honest with my listeners, my viewers, my friends,
yes, you have.
Associates, when it comes to anything, whether it's something personal or whether it's any of the shows that we do. It's important to me that people know that when they listen to us, they're not going to get the same old misinformation that they get on other late night paranormal talk shows. And I was offered a good lump sum of money not that many months ago. If I was to change my format, a major network would take my show, syndicate it, and go up against Coast to Coast. And I said no, because they wanted me to sensationalize.
Yeah, that's and that certainly is a problem, isn't it? But see, that's why on my end of the fence, the ghost shows can be very exciting because they're sensationalized, and there's good folks out there. I'm not knocking
definitely,
them,
definitely, yeah.
But they do want to sensationalize the show because nobody's going to watch it if they really saw how boring a paranormal investigation can be.
It's just like police work, surveillance.
A stakeout. Yeah, that's exactly. In fact, that's the example I use. People watch TV and movies, police stakeout, super exciting. Truth of the matter, hours and hours of boredom with 15 seconds of excitement.
Hey, well, when have you ever seen the CSI folks wrap everything up in an hour or even 2 days, 3 days? It doesn't happen in reality.
And if I had a nickel for everyone that said, well, I saw that they found out who had those fingerprints in 5 minutes, I'd be rich. I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be on some island I own.
You mean APHIS doesn't work that way?
Yeah.
No.
So
darn it.
But and you're also kind of hitting on where I'm trying to go, and that's, for lack of a better term, keeping it real. Making sure folks understand what this whole thing really is. And that is, in my opinion, keeping an open mind, taking in all the evidence, but then sorting it out and using common sense to take it further. Don't give a story that you can't corroborate.
That's what we call over here the Lawson factor.
The loss. Okay.
Feel free to use that anytime you want.
I will. Let me write that down. So
now, Larry, there's a lot to be discovered out there.
mm-hmm.
And I think that you and your team and other teams that you associate yourself with are going to find it. May not be tomorrow, may not be in our generation, but the work that we're both doing, that you're doing, and the seeds that you're planting, my friend, I truly believe that one day the truth will be found, whether it's man-made or whether it's, you know, the reality. Oh, by the way, speaking about that, I loved how you asked Ronny Dawson if he ever heard of the pareidolia effect.
Pareidolia?
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would don't take my word for it, folks. Go to his website, look at the pictures. Just do that, please. And yeah, thank you. No, thank you, Robert.
Larry, as always, time goes by too fast when you're with us, my friend. This coming week, you have Preston Dennett on your show, I believe.
I do. I'm very anxious to have him on there, especially with all the things. And like I said, I'm becoming much more involved in discussing the UFO world. And I think he's going to be a terrific guest, especially with all the things that are going on.
I believe you're right, my friend. Let our listeners know how they can find out more about you and the great work that you do.
Well, you could check us out Facebook on either Indian River Hauntings or Florida Bureau of Paranormal Invasion and Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation.
Florida Bureau of Invasion.
Sorry, I had this UFO thing. You can our website, paranormalfbi.com or IndianRiverHauntings.com. You can also check us out on YouTube.
Coming to a yucks near you.
You can check us out on YouTube too at Indian River Hauntings 2341 on our YouTube channel. And of course, you can write to me, ask questions at ghostguy@paranormalstakeout.com and watch the show. You might get a kick out of it. I have some
Florida Bureau of Paranormal Invasion.
Great way to end the show.
I love you, Larry. You're a good man, and I'm proud, so proud to call you my friend.
And same here. Thank you very much, Rob, for having me tonight.
Please give my best to your family, and I look forward to working with you this coming Thursday as you talk to Preston Dennett about
it'll be fun.
The paranormal invasion. Okay.
I own it. I own it.
You know what? That one beats the doggy style comment.
I don't know. I thought
you know, we could have asked him if that was the cat's meow. Did she like meow mix? Where do you take a cat lady for a date? And how often does she change your litter box? That's what I want to know.
You got me.
Good night, Larry.
Take care, my friend. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, Exo Nation, we'll be back on the top of the hour as once again we continue our conversation discussing the world of the paranormal and parapsychology here in the X Zone and how soon we're going to be invaded. Oh, you and my friend make me laugh sometimes.
Have a good night, my friend.
You too, Larry. Good night.